CSIS 2470 is filmed before a live studio audience.
Now that we've taken forever to learn about event handlers, let's look at one of the funnest kind of event handlers, and that is drag and drop events. So, as always, there ain't nothing to it but to do it to the code. So here's our basic HTML. There's a whole bunch of sections and divs all over the place. That was just for styling purposes. The main thing we want to focus on though is line 12, which is the box that we're going to be dragging around, which is this salmon colored box right here. And then the other thing is the bin right here, which is this white box here that we're going to drag this salmon thing into. Now right now, if I try to click it, nothing happens. I can't do anything. So the first thing we have to do to make it even possible to drag is set the object's draggable property to true. That's an actual HTML draggable. That's an HTML attribute, right? And we just set it to true. Now just doing that alone makes the object draggable. So I click on it now and I can pick it up, and you still see there's a little not allowed thingy there on my cursor, but now I can actually do something with it right here, right? If we take a look at our JavaScript here, I've got a couple of notes. I'm going to move them out of the way because they're kind of messy. But when we're dealing with drag and drop, there are 7 events that we can listen for. And these are listed in the lecture notes in Canvas. But I want to just quickly show you how I see it. So the first 3 there, drag start, drag, and drag end, are the thing that's moving, right? In our case, it's the little salmon box, right? We haven't written any code yet, but let me just show you what will happen. Keep in mind these 3 names right here, drag start, drag, and drag end. Right now, when I click this, nothing's happened, but the second I move, the drag start event just fired. And it only fires once, unless I let go and do it again. But the drag start event fires 1 time. So here we go, drag start just fired, and right now the drag event is firing over and over and over again until I let go. And when I let go, the drag end event will fire. So here we go, drag start, drag, over and over and over, drag end. So that's what's going on with these 3, and we'll look at that in the code in a minute. But those events do fire whether I write code to deal with them or listen for them or not. And then this is the next piece where the thing is going, where we're going to be dropping it off. We have a drag enter, drag over, and drag leave. And so let's look at it this way. Over here is the area we're trying to drop things off. So first of all, let's go back to when I grabbed the block. Drag start, drag event is firing over and over again. And then when I let go, drag end is going to fire, but I'm not going to let go yet. The moment I cross the boundary of that box, then the drag enter thing has fired. The drag enter event, sorry, not thing, the event. While I'm in here, the drag over event is occurring over and over again. And then the moment I leave, the drag leave event will fire. So that's the basic overview of what these 3 do here and these 3. And I have them in order of how they occur, right? We start, which fires once. We drag until we let go. We're dragging, dragging, dragging over and over again. And then we drag end when we stop dragging. And then here, we enter 1 time. You are over it multiple times, over and over and over again. And then you leave 1 time. And then the drop, it's kind of, I mean, you're dropping the object, but you're dropping it in the place that you're moving it to. So I didn't really feel it fit easily into either category. So I just kind of have it on its own. But when we let go, the drag end event fires and the drop event fires. All right, so we're going to look at all these in the code, but I just wanted to give you a little heads up on these. Let's get them out of here for now. We'll save them over here so we can come back to them. Let's start super simple. If I want to build a drag into the bin, well, maybe we should grab the bin. So let bin equal document.query selector, and it has a class name of bin, so we can just grab it like that. And then I might as well get the box because we're going to be doing something with that. So let box equal document query selector box. Also has a class of box. All right, that's easy enough. So let's add an event listener to the bin to listen for when something enters its space. bin.add event, and we're going to listen for drag over. And we're going to call a function that we invent. Let's just call it drag over. Why not? Call it whatever you want. And on drag over, let's just start by saying console.log, and we'll say dragged over. So here we go, open up the console, we refresh, and I have an error, drag over. I don't know what happened there. I just forgot to write function. Sorry about that, guys. Drag over, there we go. That's what we should be doing. Refresh, and the moment I get over that div, because it's listening for it, it will register drag over. And now the whole time I'm there, it's dragging over, right? As soon as I get out of there, it stops. Or if I go in there and it's going, then I move out, it stops. All right, I'm gonna just change the event we're listening for just a minute, just to prove a couple of points here. I'm not gonna change the name of the function, but we're gonna just quickly look for the drag enter, right? And you'll see that the drag enter function, it only fires once. Now the text says drag over because that's what I told the console out, but it's just whatever text was there. But it only fires once, right? And if I were to do the drag leave event, then I refresh and I enter, nothing happens, but the moment I leave, something happens. It fires that event. Okay, but we are listening for drag over, all right? Pretty simple. Now, the drag over function, it really just has one purpose, and it's only one line of code, and it's only ever one line of code. And I'll tell you the line of code in just a minute, but here's what the purpose is. In a normal web browser, you're not allowed to drop stuff when you drag, right? There's different default behavior depending on what the object is. Sometimes if you click and drag, it automatically opens it up in a new browser. Like if you were to drag a file into your browser window, it would open up that file. Or if it's a link, it can open up a hyperlink or something like that. So the drop behavior is different than what we want, right? So when this event fires, just like any other event that we've looked at, there is an event object that comes along for the ride. I like to just capture it with a variable called E. You can name that whatever you want. You could call it Beavis, right? Our event's called Beavis. And we'll just console.log our event, Beavis. Don't worry, I'll rename it in just a second. But I just wanted to prove the point. And as you can see, if we refresh and I drag over, the event is firing and it keeps dragging over and over and over again. That drag event continues to fire. But we're not going to call it Beavis. We're going to call it E or something simple. E for event. We just want to prevent the default behavior, right? So there is a property inside of the event. If we look over here before we refresh the screen, right here we see default prevented. It's set to false, which means whatever the normal default behavior is set to true, right? Because we haven't prevented the default. Well, there's a function that will change the value of that. And that function is called prevent default. Simple enough. That's all it does. But for now, that is all that the drag over function will ever need to do. And so I'm going to show you a little shortcut later on how to clean that code up a little bit. So that's part one. Part two, we just need to do something when it's dropped. So let's just listen for a drop event and we'll make a function called dropped or just drop. And here we go, function drop. And what do we want to do? Well, we want to drop the box inside of the bin, right? So couldn't I just do something like bin.inner HTML equals box? Well, almost, right? We're not quite there, but let's see what happens if I do that. Refresh, and I drag over and I let go, and I get this. It says an object, an HTML div element was dropped. So obviously this isn't the behavior we're looking for, right? So let's fix it. There's actually a function that is part of any object in the DOM. So any div, any paragraph, any whatever, and that function is called append child. So if I call that function append child and I put in there what I want to append to it. So in other words, I want to append, meaning add to, right? I want to add to the bin the following. And what is it? I want to add that box to it. So the append child function is smart enough to know that whatever thing I pass in there, if it exists somewhere else on the DOM, it'll move it from there and put it here, right? So this is all we need, and you'll see drag, drop, and we moved it. Pretty cool, right? And it's only a few lines of code here, but we're not done yet.
But I'm not done yet.
There's so many other things that we can do here, but let's just look at a simple, we'll call it a problem for the moment. What if I had a couple of boxes here? Let's make like 6 boxes. If I refresh, let's scooch this over, have a little bit more breathing room there. Now I'm going to drag one over, and it's going to look like it worked. It didn't, and I'll explain why in a second, and I'll prove it. But if I try to drag a second one over, it's not happening. The reason it's not happening is because in our code, what did we say to do here? We said drop the box into the bin, right? Well, what is the box? We did query selector box. Well, there's a bunch of divs with a class of box. But if you use query selector, it only grabs the first one. And I'll prove it. So we'll go style equals background color fire brick. So we'll change the color. So now refresh. Now that one is the first one. the fire brick colored one there. Maybe I should do a more contrasting color there. We'll go green there. So that green one there, that's the first one. If I drag it over there and drop it off, that's the behavior you expect. However, if I drag this one over here and drop off, it's going to move the green one still, right? Because the green one is box, right? Box is the first div because we use query selector. So we need to do query selector all, right? First of all, let's get rid of this though. So now if we do query selector all, we'll do boxes, query selector all, and now I'm going to have an array of boxes that have all of those divs that have the class box in it. Well, now that I have the boxes here, what do I put down here? I don't know what to put in there because box is not a thing anymore. I can't put boxes because it's a whole array. If I put boxes, let's just see what happens. Refresh, drag, and we get an error, right? So that doesn't work. So what do we do here? This is where the drag start event can be useful, right? So the moment we start dragging, we want to capture which object is being dragged, right? Well, how the heck do we do that? Well, let's first attach an event listener to all these boxes with the for of loop, box of boxes, and we'll do box.add event listener, and we're going to listen for the drag start, and we're going to call the drag start function that we're going to invent right now. All right, so let's do that. Function drag start, and let's go ahead and capture the event so we can look at it, because that's going to give us some useful information here. So console.log the event. All right, refresh, and the moment I click this, the drag start event fired, and now I have a drag event over there in the console. So let's look at that. This is the drag event, and it doesn't have a ton of things in here. There's a few though, but one of them you'll notice is the source element, and there's also the target, which are basically the same thing. If I hover over the div here, you'll see that on the left it's highlighting that first div because that is the one I dragged. But let's drag another one. So let's clear the console. Let's drag this third one here. It fired the event. If I come down here and I hover over that div, you'll notice on the left it's highlighting the third div because that is specifically that div.box on the right is a specific div. Well, let's just capture that in a variable, right? So start off here, we'll go let item, and then the moment the drag event starts, let's capture in that item variable the actual source element, right? And so it's going to be the event, so e dot source element, right? So if I just come here and we go item equals e dot, and now item will be whatever box is being dragged. Then down here in the drop, rather than calling box or boxes, we put the item in there. Suddenly we have a nice little working interface that has an error, of course, on line 6 because I forgot to take in the parameter. Where are you? Oh, I put that in the wrong line. Sorry, line 6, that shouldn't be there. That should be in the start function here. Sorry about that. So the moment the drag event starts, right, the drag start event fires, we call this function and we take the event and get its source element and we assign it to this variable called item that we declared on line 3. So now we have this item global variable that we can use. And now let's refresh and we drag and we drop. Drag, we drop. And look at that. And they're lining up the way they are because I have Flexbox applied to everything to make it look nice and neat. But there we go. That's it. I mean, it's functioning. We can move multiple things over and it looks great.
But I'm not done yet.
Right? Let's look and see another potential issue that could occur. All right, but let's first look at some of the events we've talked about. Drag start, we've done that. So let's kind of put like, I don't know, a check mark or an X there. We've done the drag over and we've done the drop, right? So 3 down, 4 to go, right? Let's just take them one at a time though and see what we need here. But let's first fix this potential issue here. What if I had 2 bins? And I'm going to label them with 2 different classes just for teaching purposes here. And I've styled them up to be the same, but let's just refresh this. And now I've got 2 bins, right? Now, if I drag over here, we're still doing okay. This doesn't allow, you see I have a not allowed there, but if I come over here, I get a little plus sign, which means it is allowed. Not allowed here, allowed here. The reason it's not allowed there is because that div isn't listening for anything. So let's make it listen. So we come over here, and all I need to do is get bin 2. We'll call it bin 2. Bin 2. So, and I forgot semicolons. Shame on me. So I know I just copied and pasted that real quick, but let's just be clear on what I'm doing. Bin 2 is this new div over here on the right, and I've grabbed it out of the document by looking for a class of bin 2, which is this item right here, okay? And then I attached event listeners, the drag over and the drop event listeners, just like we did on the other bin. So now they're going to call the same functions, the drag over and the drop function. So now we have a little bit different experience. Let's come back over here, if I refresh. Now when I hover over here, I get a plus there, and I also get a plus there because it's now listening for the event. It's even listening for a drop. But if I drop right here, what do you expect will happen? If you guessed it would end up in the first bin, you are correct. If I drop in the second bin, it ends up in the first bin. Why is it doing that, Jeff? Well, I'll tell you. Because that's what the function says to do. It says put the item in bin. Well, what's bin? It's the first one. It's not the second one. Well, how do we fix that problem? Okay, well, let's print the event out again. Whoa, do a lowercase e there. And take a look at that event. So console.log, the event. And let's get rid of this console.log here. And so now on drop, we're going to get an event fire. So when I drop, there's an event. Let's look at it. If I scroll down, it also has target and source element. And you'll notice it's bin, right? The event, because it's a drop event, it is firing and being listened to in the div that we're dropping things off in. Therefore, that's why this is the source element. Well, what happens if I do another one over here on the second div? I still get the event, and remember the div moved to the first bin, but notice here the source element was number 2 because that's the one I dropped it off in. The only reason it moved to the first bin is because I told my code to do it, right? If I simply put a 2 here, then every time I try to drop in the first bin, it's going to end up in the second bin, right? And everything I put in the second bin will stay there because I said whenever I drop anything, go to the second bin. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to go to the specific bin we're being hovered over. Well, you just saw that the event gives us the source element. So all I have to do is right here, event source element. That will be whatever bin I'm hovering over. So let's refresh it now and drop one there, drop one there. Looks like it's working just fine. Pretty groovy, right? Well, now that we're getting this information dynamically, we can have a little bit more fun here. Rather than having bin 2, bin 3, bin 4, let's just get rid of that. And because these are classes and not IDs, we can have multiple ones. So let's just have like 4 bins there. And then back in our JavaScript here, we can say bins equals query selector all bin. And now we can get rid of this because we don't have a bin 2 anymore. And we could just put this in a for of loop, right? So we do for bin of bins and put those in there. And now, like magic, we can drop any box into any bin. Let's refresh that. We have 4 places to go. Let's move this so we have a little bit more room. And I can drop it in the first one, anywhere I want. And in fact, if I want to, I can move them from one to another position because all of them are looking for the drag over event and the drop event. So I can put them all in the same one if I wanted to. Might get a little crowded in there, but we can do it, right? And this is a style issue why it's poking out there. I'm not going to bother fixing that. But as you can see, that gives us a lot of dynamic behavior here.
But I'm not done yet.
What if we wanted to only specifically allow certain divs to go into certain bins, right? So let's say I had here A, B, and C, and then this was A and C. And I only wanted A to go in the first bin here. Let's just get rid of this so we have 3. So what I want is that only A is allowed in this one, not this one or this one. Only B's can go here and so forth. Right now they can go anywhere they want, okay? So let's take a look down here in our drop event, our drop function, I should say. Basically, I just need to do some sort of an if statement, right? If matching or whatever, this is not real code, then do this. Well, if what's matching? Well, we can start with the easy thing. I can say let letter box equal item, right? That's the box that's about to get dropped off. And I can look at its text content, right? That will be the A, B, C, or D. Because remember, item, that was initialized here on line 3. The moment we started the drag event, we had drag start right here, which figured out which thing is being dragged and it assigned it to this item variable. So I'm just looking at that item variable and I'm saying, what's the text content? It's going to be A, B, C, or D. All right, well now I want to also get like the bin letter from the bin. Well, what is that? Well, we have to invent it, right? So one fancy fun way that I like doing this kind of stuff is using the custom attributes in HTML. So let's just go with data-letter and we'll set it, the first one to A, the second one to B, and the third one to C, right? And so now we just look for this and compare it to this. So letter bin is equal to what? Well, it's this source element, right? That's the bin that's about to get something dropped off into. So it's this source element, and we want to look at the node values of the attributes, right? So let's go back and look in our document here so we can get a little bit of clarity. So we're going to be looking at one of these bins here, right? Let's just pick any one. So the first one here, I click on that. I go down here to the attributes, and you can see that one of the attributes is data letter. Well, if I look at this particular attribute, I want to look at the node value, and it's A, or it will be B if I clicked on B. So I want to get the attributes array, the data letter element, the data letterth element, if you will. It's not the 0th element or the 1th element, right? It's the data letterth element, and I want its node value. Node value. That's going to be A, B, or C. Now I just need to compare that to that. So here's my matching business. If letter box equals letter bin, then do line 30, right? So refresh. I drag A to A and it works. I drag B to A, it does not work. It goes back, doesn't work. I try to drag C there, it doesn't work. But I can take C all the way to the end. I can take C, both C's to the end there. I can take B to the middle, A, B. And of course I can't drag them between each other now anymore.
But I'm not done yet.
You've probably seen some effects where when I drag, this changes colors, or the thing that I hover over changes colors, right? Well, that's where some of our other events can come in handy. So for example, on the bins, let's look for a drag enter event, right? So bin.add event listener. We're going to listen for the drag enter event, and we'll call a function called, why not, drag enter. All right. And what are we looking for? So let's do function drag enter, and we might need the event. I'm not sure. We'll find out in a second. I've already created a class called hover that I can apply, and we'll just use that. So all I need to do is get the actual thing that we're hovering over. So we will need the event, and it will be event source element, if you recall. And I just want to set the class list dot add equal to hover. So now when I refresh, if I hover, it changes. But notice when I get out of there, it doesn't go back, right? So we want to remove the class when we leave it. So we need another event listener, drag leave, right? And we'll make a drag leave function right here. The drag leave function will be almost identical to this one, drag leave, and it's just going to be remove. So let's refresh that. I go in, it changes, I leave, it goes back, right? And when I drop off, however, it stays, which is not what we want. But the reason it stays is because the drag leave event didn't fire because I never left. So we want to make sure we also do this when we drop. And we want to do that right there. So now we should be everywhere we need. So I drop it here and it changes back to normal. This is the behavior we're looking for. You can question my style color choices here. This wasn't meant to demonstrate my CSS prowess or lack thereof. So anyway, there's one more thing I want to do though.
But I'm not done yet.
I want to change this when I grab it, okay? But let's look at all the events we've taken a look at. We did the drag enter now. Enter the drag in. We did the drag leave. The only one we haven't done is drag end and drag, and we're going to deal with drag another time. So let's take a look at this last piece here. When drag start fires, we call the drag start function. And all I want to do is, in the item class list, add also hover, right? And we refresh. And when I drag, now while I'm dragging, you can see that it changes. But we have this problem. When I let go, it stays. Or if I drag and then I decide not to put it anywhere and I just let go, it stays. So this is where the drag end function will come in handy. So we're going to listen for a drag end, and we'll call a function called drag end. Why not? And it's going to be right here. We'll put it function drag end e. Actually, I don't think we'll need the event. And we'll do item.class list remove hover. Now if we refresh, I grab it and it stays this color until I let go. If I let go, it's fine. We don't have to worry about it staying the wrong color. But when I drop it off, it goes back to the original color. And now this is functioning pretty much exactly how we want it to. So one last thing we're going to do in just a second here.
But I'm not done yet.
Now that we only allow A to be in this column and nowhere else, we might as well just disable the draggable feature so I can't try to move it because it won't matter. I can't do it anyway. But when I hover over here, it looks like maybe it would work, and we don't want the user to be confused. So if we get it where it belongs, let's disable it, right? And that's easy. Down here, once we've dropped it off, we have a match and we dropped it off. Then we can just take the item, right? That's the box. And we can look in the attributes array for the draggable node value and set it to false. It's no longer draggable. So now I refresh, drop the A off there, put everything where it belongs, B, C, A, C, and now these guys are no longer draggable. So that's not a lot of code. It's only 50 lines of code, and a lot of it is, there's some redundancy in here, and there's some little tricky things we could do. For example, take the drag leave and the drag enter. They just are doing the opposite of each other, right? Well, we could use the toggle function rather than the add and remove. So check this out. We can have drag enter and drag leave go to the same place. Let's call it drag enter leave, maybe. Drag enter leave. And we'll call this drag enter leave, and we'll get rid of this completely. And we will say toggle. And toggle is a function that knows if the class is there in the list, remove it. If it's not there, add it. So let's just try that. That's the enter leave. That's this functionality here. Seems to be working just fine, right? So there, we streamlined that code a little bit. There are other ways that we can streamline this. For example, the drag over event. Well, we can do what's called an anonymous function. All that means is it's a function that doesn't have a name, right? So let's just grab this piece right here and the drag over. Remember, the drag over, the only thing it ever does is just prevents default. That's the whole purpose of it. So right here, rather than calling a function, I can literally put an anonymous function right here, and it's going to take in the parameter for the event, and it's going to have that code in it. And that's it. That's the whole function right there. Notice it doesn't have a name anymore. It's just anonymous, right? So I can get rid of this. That cleans things up a little bit. And if you wanted to do that maybe with the drag end, we could do that because it's only one little line there. So drag in, we could say function, and I don't even think we need the event for that one, and we didn't use it. So drag end is gone. Maybe the enter leave function, we could do this code twice right here, right? It would just be here and put that in there. So that gets rid of that. So you can see this is starting to clean the code up nicely here. It's not much. And this one we kind of have to leave here, otherwise it'd be too messy. Anyway, I hope you had some fun learning about dragging and dropping. There's a lot of really cool applications that you can use this for. So take a look at the screen as always. If you can answer those questions, then you're ready to take the quiz and you've learned everything you needed from this video. Thanks as always for attending class. We'll see you next time, folks.